Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about the midpoint formula and how to use it. So let's get started first by talking a little bit about what the midpoint formula actually does. The midpoint formula will help us find the midpoint of any segment. So if I have a piece of a line, it helps me find the point that's directly in the middle of that little segment, of that line segment. So first thing we want to do is we want to get familiar with the actual formula itself. So this is the midpoint formula. Okay, we notate it with the letter M. M stands for midpoint. And here inside, what we have are the X and Y components to 2 points. So we have X1 and Y1. These belong to 1 point. So it's a given point. We cannot use the midpoint formula unless we have 2 given points. X2 and Y2 are referring to the X and Y of a second point. So we need 2 points in order to begin using this formula, and what we're doing is we are adding the X components. So we take the X value from 1 point and the X value from a second point, we add those up together, and then we divide it by 2, almost as if we're averaging them. Then we do the same for the Y. We take the Y component of the first point and we take the Y component of the second point, we add them together, and we divide them by 2. And this is how we find the midpoint to any line segment. So let's go ahead and let's put it to work in an example. So for this first example, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write down the midpoint formula. It's good practice and it helps us memorize it faster. So we have M equals, we got X1 plus Y1 over 2, comma, X2 plus Y2 over 2. Alright. The next thing I'm going to do is ask them, what is the midpoint of AB? So they give us points A and point B on the graph. So I actually like to label my points so that it's easier to plug them into the formula. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So -3 is going to be my X1, because it's the X component to the first point. And 2 is going to be my Y1, because that's the Y component to the first point. I am making A the first point. If you wanted to, you could also make B the first point, and you'd still get the same answer. So now let's go ahead and let's make B, which is my second point. So 4 is going to be X2, and -2 is going to be Y2. So now let's go ahead and use those. We're going to plug them into this formula. So I'm going to have M equals X1, which is -3, plus X2, which is 4. Now that's going to be divided by 2. And then we're going to have Y1, which is 2, plus Y2, which in this case is -2. All that divided by 2. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and add and subtract. So we have M equals -3 plus 4 is going to leave us with 1. 2 plus a -2, that'll leave me with 0. Okay, and then I can finally just simplify. 1/2, I can write it as 0.5 if I wanted to, but in this case I'm going to go ahead and keep it as a fraction. 1/2. 0 over 2 simplifies to 0, and this should be my midpoint. I can verify by checking on the graph. I can go to the right 1/2, up 0, 1/2 comma 0, and this does in fact, to me at least, look like the midpoint, and it should, because the midpoint formula is right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's move on to a different example. What we're going to do right now is we just saw an example where they gave us a graph and the points, and it's helpful to have that visual, but what if they didn't give us that visual? What if they just gave me 2 points? Again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write down the formula. So M equals X1 plus X2 divided by 2, comma, and then we have y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So they want me to find the midpoint to points C and D, which are the ends of a segment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and label those points. So 2 would be x1, 5 would be y1, and then 8 would be x2, and y would be y2. And again, if you want to mix those up, that's fine. C definitely could have been 0.2 and D could have been 0.1, but I like to go in alphabetical order. So now let's go ahead and let's have m equals, let's plug those in. For x1, I have -2 plus my x2, which in this case is 8. All that divided by 2, comma, y1, which in this case is 5, plus y2, which in this case is -12. And all that divided by 2. Okay. So that'll leave me with m equals -2 plus 8 would give me 6 divided by 2. 5 plus -12, that would leave me with -7 divided by 2. Okay. Simplify this if you can. So I'm going to have m equal 3 and -3 1/2. And that is my midpoint. So I hope you found those two examples helpful, and hopefully you understand the midpoint formula just a little bit better. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and hopefully I'll get back to you. And if not, this is the end of this video, and hopefully you continue on to the next video. Thanks for watching.